Hey guys, it's Thursday. So we're going to talk about 3 different things because it's 3 Things Thursday. I took last week off because I went on a girls' trip to Vegas with my mother, her high school best friend, her cousin, which was her other high school best friend, and her cousin's daughter, which makes her like I don't think it's second cousin. I think it's like cousin once removed. I don't know. We had a great time though. So I didn't chime in last Thursday because if you've ever been to Vegas, you know how exhausted you are coming home. And we came home on Thursday. So now that it's this Thursday, let's chat. The first thing I want to share with you guys is an app that my cousin shared with me. Actually, the first 2 things I'm going to share. My cousin, if you want to follow her, at Alicia's Essentials, Alisha Essentials. She's just a badass chick. But she shared with me an app to help you identify stones and crystals. So if you've followed me for any amount of time, you probably have figured out that I kind of dig my crystals. I dig almost everything out of nature. I don't know, the natural world's pretty cool. So this is called Stone. Pretty simple name, but it's the Stone app, and it helps you figure out what a crystal is, and then what its properties are. So like I always keep a piece of citrine on my desk, because citrine is a stone for manifestation, abundance, and I'm always looking for an abundance of space and creativity, and so I keep a piece on my desk. So I'm now using the Stone app so I can go in and actually look up, because I've got a few crystals that I've been gifted, and I'm not sure what the properties of them are, and I don't remember the names, and I lose track of the names of even the ones I buy, because to be honest, sometimes I just buy them because they're pretty. I know you do that. I know you do that too. So I've got a few crystals where I'm like, I don't know why I own this other than I think it's really freaking pretty. But it's a cool app that you can go through and you just visually pick out the stone, because it's just little images of them. So if you are also obsessed with stones and crystals like I am, go check it out. It's a free app. I think you're going to really like it. The second thing I'm going to share with you that my cousin shared with me that I became obsessed with immediately is a podcast. And I know I'm late to the game here, but it's a podcast called S-Town. So it was created by, I want to say his name's Brian Reed. That sounds right. Brian Reed got a phone call, got some emails, messages from James B. McLemore down in Alabama. And episode 1, it's a 7-episode series. Each episode's about an hour. It's all true. It's all recorded phone calls, recorded interviews, and it took years for this whole story to unravel. And he unravels it beautifully. It's so well laid out. It's just a wonderful podcast. Anyway, he gets a phone call, or he gets all these messages from John B. McLemore down in Alabama that there's been a murder. 2 young boys get into a fight, and one beats the other to death. And he believes that there's a cover-up, and that there was a murder, and that this affluent family in the town covered it up. And that is how it opens. That is nowhere near where it ends up. So I listened to 1 episode on our flight home and immediately was hooked, and listened to 3 more in between my mom trying to chat to me while I'm like, hold on, let me pause. What, Mom? I love her. And then came home like the next day and listened to the rest of the series. And I have told everyone in my life about it that I've run into recently. I just think it's fabulous. So if you need a good listen that is not business related, just not news related, it's not it's a story. It's a story, it's all true, and it takes you through so many twists and turns, and it is, like I said, it is so well laid out, it is so well crafted. It'll just have you hooked. So S-Town. And I know it came out in like 2017 and that I'm 2 years late, and that many of you are going to be like, Britni, I already did. And it's amazing. I know you're going to say that. All right. So they're the 2 things that were shared with me that I want to pass on to you. The third thing I want to talk about today is a concept. And it has to do with confirmation bias and how we make decisions. So the way that you think you make decisions isn't the way that you probably make decisions. And I'm going to go so far to say, I'm going to remove that word probably. The way you think you make decisions is not the way you actually make decisions. And so I've done a lot of reading and I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I'm really digging into confirmation biases, so our own biases and how we almost have like this predetermined way that we're going to react. Like I always think of our brain as an operating system. And we possess the ability to actually kind of hack into that operating system and get to know it and change it and tweak it, which a lot of other species don't. But we are kind of programmed to do things a certain way. And the way you think you make decisions, and tell me if this sounds right to you. The way you think you make decisions and the way I thought I made decisions was rational. In that, let's say that you're trying to decide what's a new car. You're trying to decide if you should buy a new car. And so as soon as you start trying to deliberate on this decision, should I buy a new car? In your subconscious, you already kind of have the outcome that you desire. And if you're thinking about buying a new car, it means that you're already thinking about buying a new car. Do you know what I mean? Like, you didn't just one day go, should I buy a new car? No, somewhere in there you were thinking, I might want a new car. And so what ends up happening, and we don't even realize it's happening and even though I've done all this reading and work on myself, I still don't see it like it's hard to see it happening in ourselves. Even with all the work, even with therapy and journaling, and no matter what kind of work you've done, you're like, these things are still in there. It's still hard to overcome. So the way we make decisions isn't that we're going to actually weigh the options, because we already kind of know the option that we want. The way we make decisions is we make the little decision in our head without us knowing it, and then we start seeking out the evidence to back up the thing that we want in our subconscious. So if the question is, should I buy a new car? Unless someone else brought this up and said, do you think you should buy a new car? If you've already, like if you're the one asking the question in your own head, should I buy a new car? You probably already are thinking like, I want a new car. And so now you're going to seek out the reasons you should buy a new car a little bit more than the reasons you shouldn't. So what we do is we think we're going to weigh options, but in reality, we're seeking the decision we've already made. We're seeking evidence to support the decision that we made in our subconscious. Once you begin to recognize this about how you make decisions, and if you can recognize it in that instant, then you can start to hack into that operating system and go, oh, I'm doing that thing where I want this outcome, and I'm seeking to justify it. Now, maybe you do need a new car. Maybe your car breaks down every 2 weeks and it isn't reliable. And maybe it's a 1997 Toyota Camry. And maybe you do need a new car. But in my case, like I'm driving an 09 CRV and it runs fine. It has 150,000 miles and it's a Honda. I changed the oil, I changed the tires. It keeps going. But if I really wanted it, I would go out and actually start seeking the reasons why. So that's how we make decisions. And once you start to learn that about yourself, I'm not going to say it gets easier, but you at least have a little bit more armor. You have additional tools in your toolbox to go, okay, I'm doing that thing where I want to spend this money, and now I'm seeking out justification for why I should spend the money. And maybe you do it like this. Maybe you think, should I buy a new car? I'm going to ask everybody I know. I'm going to ask all my friends. I'm going to ask all my family, do you think I should buy a new car? What kind of new car would I get? And you're going to find yourself arguing against the people who tell you the answer you don't want. that's when you know you've made the decision and you're seeking justification. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with you. We all do it. That's what I'm trying to help you with. We all do it. So learning about the why behind what we do helps us take control of it. And I just see it over and over with money. We kind of do things on autopilot and we don't really think about it. So when the next time you're making a big decision, see if you're doing that. Like, take a breath, pause, and ask yourself, am I seeking a certain outcome with my research, with my questions? When I'm asking people for advice, do I already know the answer I'm looking for? And the way you can tell that you already know is that you automatically argue against the ones that don't jive with what you really want. So should I buy a new car? And someone's like, I don't think you should. I mean, think about the payment. Your car's paid off. Your insurance is low. You really don't drive that much. And if you start arguing back, yeah, well, but I do need to take the kids to school and I don't know if my car's super reliable. And if you automatically argue against an idea, you've made the decision. Do you feel me on this? Does this sound familiar? Am I the only one? I don't think I am. I've done enough digging into people that, no, I don't think I'm the only one. Those are the things I have for you today. Sorry to leave you on such a heavy one. But if you love and are obsessed with crystals and stones and pretty sparkly things like me, the Stone app is for you. S-Town podcast. Just turn off the news. Turn off your personal development just for a little bit. And just veg out on some S-Town because it's a fantastic story about humans. And there's some really great twists and turns that you won't see coming. So if you do listen to it or if you've already listened to it, please message me because nobody in my life has yet. And my cousin has, and we're going to get together for lunch and talk about it. But I need to know your thoughts on some of the characters in this podcast. And then what do you think? How do you make decisions? Do you think, despite what I just shared, that you are very rational and that you weigh all your options and that there's no real emotional tug towards one or the other? Because I'll bet that you're a lot like me. And you're a lot like all the other nearly 8 billion human beings with a very similar little operating system in that we kind of know what we want and we seek to justify it. Not saying it's wrong, but once you recognize it, you get to take a little bit more control. So those are my thoughts. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll be back with you next Thursday. My kids are going to be in school. I'm going to have a routine again. I hate to see them go to school. I do like having them home in the summer, but I need a routine. And I've got some big projects and work that I want to get done, and I just haven't made the space for them this summer because I needed space for family. Again, thanks guys. I love you. Have a fantastic Thursday. Have a great weekend, and I will chat with you next week. Bye.